Hello, my name is Bella Ariano, and I am going to be telling an Inuit tale. It's called The Dwarf People, and I hope that y'all enjoy. It starts off in a pretty large village on Inuit land, and the villagers are quite tight-knit community, and a lot of the times they notice things that are out of the blue. And on the river, it's wintertime, and so the river that runs through the village is frozen over, and there's a thick layer of ice that they use to carry sleds back and forth to travel on. And coming down the river is a family that they have yet to see before. The family is quite small in stature, and they're carrying a great big sled. The father is wearing the hair and the hide of only one fox. The mother is wearing the hair and the hide of two hares. And the son is wearing that of two muskrats. Now, the father is only about 2 feet tall, not quite that tall, and the son is only about the size of one's forearm. And though they were small, the villagers could tell that they were quite strong. See, the sled that the father was carrying was not a typical sled. It was much larger than that that the villagers typically carried. And it had a great big heavy load on the back of it. So the family of dwarves, they settle into town and they unpack, and they are welcomed into a home where they will stay for a time that until they see fit. And so they are living in this house and they feel comfortable in this house, and there's one day where the son is playing outside, and the father looks outside of the window to see and see what his son is doing, when all of a sudden a dog comes and bites his son so ferociously. And because of the son's small stature, upon being bitten, he passes away. And the father runs outside in a fury of rage, and he chases after the dog who has just killed his beloved son. And he chases after the dog, and in his momentum and in his rage, he pushes the dog against a pole, and it's almost as if the dog's body splits in half. Now, this rage and this sorrow of the loss of his son was only to be put to good. The father had put together and carried together all of this beautiful wood that he used off of the land, and he built the most beautiful coffin with cross hatchings and beautiful decorations on the outside. He put his child's toys on the inside, and he finally lay his child to rest in the coffin. He buried his son, and after he buried his son, he went home, and where he stayed for 4 days. And these 4 days, he did not lift a finger to work, and he did not lift his lips to speak to one person. After these 4 days, he packed up his belongings on his great big sled, and him and his wife went back up the river that they had come down. And the villagers just watched in confusion. So much had happened, and they had never seen anybody mourn in this way. So they noticed the woodworkings of the coffin that the dwarf had put his son in, and the way that he had cared and grieved for his son. This came to be the practice that the Inuit took upon. They, instead of their typical way of, placing the bodies of those that had passed away on the tundra where the wildlife and the animals would come to eat on them and prey on them, instead they took up the way that the dwarf had handled his son, and they put their beloved those that had passed on into their coffins, and with belongings that were special to them, and they buried them, and they would take 4 days to grieve inside their home, speaking to nobody. The dwarves had left a very big impact on this town and this village. However, after that, the dwarves were not really seen. Sometimes hunters would see their shadows out on the ice, but as hunters would go to approach them, the dwarves would scurry. And the dwarves were never to be feared. They were people of peace, but they were never spoken to ever again. But the touch of the dwarves on this Inuit village lives on today in their traditions. That is the story of the dwarf people, and I hope that you enjoyed.